We're about to pull back the curtain on a manipulation tactic that's incredibly destructive because it's not just about influencing you, it's about systematically breaking your sense of reality.
We build our lives around the assumption of security and predictability, yet a controller can systematically introduce small, continuous doses of disruption until our entire world feels unreliable. This is the dark psychological paradox of stability removal, a strategic erosion of safety. And really, getting your head around this paradox, that's the key to everything.
You know that feeling? That creeping sense that the ground beneath your feet is always shifting, that nothing is ever quite certain? Well, that feeling has a name, and understanding it is the first step to fighting back.
So, let's get right to it. What are we actually talking about when we say stability removal? I need you to understand, this isn't just bad luck or someone being a little thoughtless. Oh no, this is a deliberate campaign.
Here's the textbook definition, but let's break it down. It's a systematic tactic. That means it's planned. The goal is to literally dismantle your feeling of safety and predictability. And why? It all comes down to one thing, making you dependent. They create the chaos so they can position themselves as the only person who can bring you peace, and that is how they seize control. So, how do they actually pull this off? Where are they aiming? Well, this isn't some clumsy all-out assault. It's more like a series of precision strikes against the very pillars that hold your world together. First up, they attack your sense of time. We call it temporal instability. Just think about it. Our whole lives run on schedules, agreements, and promises, so they start chipping away at that. They're always, 5, maybe 10 minutes late. It's never enough for a huge fight, but it's always enough to make you feel anxious, like your time doesn't matter. Plans change at the very last second, over and over again. After a while, you just stop trusting that any plan is real, and that keeps you completely off balance all the time. Okay, the second pillar, this is where it gets really, really nasty. They go after your trust in your own mind. This is where you get classic gaslighting. They'll flat out deny conversations you know you had. They'll give you super vague instructions and then, of course, blame you for not being a mind reader. The real goal here is to attack your cognitive safety. They want you to doubt your own memory, to question your own sanity until you just don't trust your own judgment anymore. And the third pillar is your environment, your physical world, your financial security. Suddenly, just as you're about to leave for something important, your keys are gone. A critical document just vanishes. Or small amounts of money go missing from a joint account with no good explanation. See, each incident on its own feels small, deniable, but put them all together, it creates this chronic, low-grade fear that nothing you own is safe and that everything can be taken away in an instant.
So what happens when these three pillars are under constant attack? You end up in a state of anxious hypervigilance. Your brain is basically stuck in the on position, constantly scanning for the next threat, the next lie, the next disruption. And let me tell you, that is exhausting. It literally burns out the part of your brain you need for rational thinking and decision-making. You just become too tired to even fight back.
Now, this isn't just a random list of bad behaviors. No, there's a method to this madness. It's a methodical, three-stage process. And once you see the blueprint for the trap, you know how to avoid it.
So what's the actual mechanism? How does a manipulator take a secure, confident person and turn them into someone who's completely dependent? Well, it happens in three very distinct stages. Here's the formula. First, subtle destabilization. Second, hyper-vigilance induction. And third, the endgame, dependency seizure. This is the playbook of control. Let's walk through it step by step. Phase 1 always starts small. Subtle destabilization. It's the little things we talked about, the constant lateness, the forgotten promises. Each one is small enough that if you call them out, they can just say, "You're overreacting." But what they're really doing is slowly breaking down your trust heuristic, that natural, mental shortcut we all have that assumes people are generally reliable. You're left with this constant nagging feeling that something is just wrong. And that feeling leads right into phase 2. Hypervigilance. Because nothing is predictable anymore, your brain kicks into overdrive trying to guess what's next. But it can't. This constant state of uncertainty is incredibly stressful, and it just fries your rational mind. At this point, your brain isn't looking for the right answer anymore. It's just desperately looking for any answer that will make the anxiety stop. This is the breaking point. And that's when they make their move. Phase 3, dependency seizure. After creating all of this chaos, they step in and offer to be the solution. They become the calm in the storm that they created. It's like an arsonist showing up and pretending to be the firefighter.
And because you are so desperate for relief, you comply. You give up your own power just for a temporary moment of peace, which teaches your brain that compliance is the only way to feel safe.
But why? Why go through all this trouble? What is the deep psychological motivation behind this kind of destructive behavior? Well, when you understand what's driving both the controller and the target, the whole toxic dynamic suddenly makes a terrifying amount of sense.
It really is a psychological battle, where one person's goals prey on another person's basic human needs. On one side, you have the manipulator. What do they want? Effortless control, predictable compliance. They need that constant validation, that narcissistic supply. And on the other side, you have the target. What are their vulnerabilities? A deep need for the world to make sense, a need for safety, and, this is the big one, an overwhelming desire for the anxiety to just stop. It's a perfect storm.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, but knowing the tactic is one thing. Dismantling it is everything. So let's shift gears and talk about action. What are the concrete steps you can take to reclaim your own reality?
The entire defense strategy is about one thing: rigidly re-anchoring yourself to objective reality. And there are 3 core tools to do this. First, the predictability audit. Second, you enforce fixed external anchors. And third, you learn to refuse the crisis narrative. Let me show you what I mean.
Step 1 is what I call the predictability audit. This is where you become a scientist of your own life. You start documenting the patterns of instability, and then you give it a name. So next time they're late, you don't just get angry. You consciously say to yourself, this is temporal instability. It is a tactic. You see what that does? The moment you name it, it stops being about you. It's not your fault. It's a strategy being used against you. And that simple shift takes away so much of its emotional power. This leads right into steps 2 and 3. See, the manipulator needs you to react to the chaos they create. They want you to drop everything for their latest manufactured crisis. Your defense is to calmly refuse. You create fixed points of stability in your life that are totally independent of them. Maybe it's a class you never miss or a weekly call with a friend. Then, when they try to create a crisis, you set a boundary. You say, I will address this issue at a predictable time, not when you demand it. You take back control of your time and you refuse to play their game.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. We've defined this awful tactic, we've broken down exactly how it works, and we've outlined a powerful defense. Now let's lock in the single most important idea you need to take away from all of this. First, and please burn this into your brain, stability removal is how manipulators break your sense of safety before they take control. The chaos isn't a side effect, it's the whole point. They have to make you feel completely lost before they can swoop in and offer to be your guide. And always remember the pattern. It starts with those subtle, deniable acts of destabilization. That forces your brain into that exhausting state of hypervigilance. And from that place of sheer exhaustion, they seize dependency, making themselves the solution to the pain they caused.
But you are not powerless in this, not at all. Your defense is awareness. By using the predictability audit to name what's happening, and by enforcing your own fixed external anchors, you reclaim your stability. You build your own solid ground and simply refuse to live in their manufactured chaos.
Because in the end, it all comes down to a choice. The manipulator needs you to live inside their world, the one where they write all the rules. The moment you decide to re-anchor yourself to your own objective reality, the game is over. So the question is simple. Whose reality will you choose to live in?